Good morning. Welcome to the January 18th, 2023 Park and Tree Committee meeting. Let's start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
All right. Lena Tucker. Wally Shreves.
Present.
Bob Dalton.
Here.
Nancy Patton. Here. And Deborah Northern. Here. All are present.
Thank you. As a reminder, your time reports, please send those in to Angela so that we get credit for those. I know we're light on them, so let's make sure we're tracking them. And I think that the three of us did have at least half an hour at the Northside Park. the
Oh,
other day.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I need to put that in myself.
Just send me an email and,
Yeah.
and then that way I have
I'll
it.
just cover it for all three of us.
Got us covered.
I got it. So let's take a look at the meeting minutes for December. Dave says he won't be here today. He can't make it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. We take a vote. Lena?
Aye. Is that what you want?
Yep.
We just say all
Oh.
in favor.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right. All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Motion is approved. Public comment. Do we have any comments from the public today?
I couldn't have heard you. Did you?
Just for reference. Yeah, I have a moment coming up for you that I'd like you to talk about something. So, all right. So let's move on to old business, which now we have arrived at that moment. Yes. We always cover the beautification committee in the meeting, and we asked Bob to do his best, but with you present, that would be an awesome to know what's going on with the beautification committee.
Would you come forward, please, to the microphone?
I'm new.
That helps with the taking.
Just right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, have a seat.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay if I stand. That'd be great.
For those that do not know, this glorious individual. It's Patty Holt. Susan Thompson had moved and she stepped down, and Patty has taken over in that position in the lead of the
Yes,
beautification. So
you're
welcome,
welcome.
Patty.
So beautification, we are getting ready tomorrow actually to hopefully go to Bowman's to check on plants and a couple of other nurseries. We met recently in our meeting with Lena and also Kelsey, and Bob was there as well, and discussed some green in the median that would run through winter and all seasons. And so we're working on that. We'll check out some things because we didn't really have a good visual of some of the suggestions they had. So we'll also look at that tomorrow and be able to make a little more educated guess at what's going on. We're working on our work schedules and changing that around so we get a little more coverage from our volunteers, and just getting anxious to dig in the dirt. So that's about where we are right now.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for coming to our meeting.
Well, thank you for asking.
Okay, let's move on to the Weddell Bridge. Any updates? Nope. Okay.
I'm still waiting for the report. I have not reached out to them. A lot of stuff going on, but I think, given the time of how long it's been going on and their ability to stay on top of it, I think they work and then do a little bit and then go off to the other. We'll follow up.
Okay.
I'll reach back tomorrow.
Sure. How's the bridge holding up with school on in winter and over Christmas break? No, any new catastrophes or?
Standard.
Right. Okay. At least it's good. Nothing new yet. All right. Lower Sankey donation, our monument.
Yes, it is still available. We just need to decide what it's going to say. I do have the list of names that are going to go on it. One of the, I'm holding my email. We need to say what you guys want to put on there. I kind of wrote down 2019 Lower Sankey Park Improvements Project Donors at the top. If you want anything more complicated than that, let me know. Otherwise, and then I'll list all the donors.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
So, okay,
Yeah.
I just need to get that sent to her, and then she'll send me the quote, but it is still available. So,
Okay.
and we have 35 names of donors on here, so we should be able to get that done.
Okay.
Question. When we have a date that it'll be finished, I guess wait till it's finished before we set the celebration.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down somewhere. July 14th is the date that Weddell Bridge was dedicated. And you guys you talked about doing a celebration
Yeah.
on a specific date. And that is a date that we could celebrate the bridge, celebrate the donors. I went and looked through all of the documentation, and that was the actual date that the bridge was dedicated. So I'm pretty sure it's July 14th. So that is, it was July 14th, 1990.
Okay.
So if we want to do like every year do a bridge celebration day, but this year do also the donor day, that's up to you guys, but that is a date that corresponds with something in the park.
Just out of curiosity, without me digging, do you know what day that is on? Like a,
Like when, let's see.
It is a
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Tuesday,
Friday.
Wednesday?
Friday.
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 So it's up to you guys what you want to do. We can always do it that Saturday if we want to do more, just say we recognize it on July 14th, but if we do it somewhere around there,
Yeah.
but that's up to you guys if you want to. That was just a date I pulled out and decided that was probably a significant one.
Yeah, and I would think Saturday would
Saturday.
Okay.
show better attendance.
Yeah, Saturday.
Would-
Put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
All right. So when I send the names and what we want to put on I will ask them if we could have that done by that date. And then
Sure.
that way we can.
I can't imagine they can't do that with this.
And then the next, we need to kind of go out there and take a look at exactly where we want to place it, because I'm sure our public works crews will be assisting with that. So we need to verify the location we want to put that monument in.
Huh? We just haven't walked it and said that's the point.
And I will get the
You know, make sure
dimension.
it looks like what we
Yeah.
think it looks like, and
I'll get the specific dimensions also, so we make sure where we chose is actually going to fit.
Sure.
So,
yeah, that'll take 5 minutes at the most. Okay, well, that's good. We can start to close that one out, because we'll be looking at Upper Sankey before too long, so.
Will that be mounted up high enough, like on a pedestal somewhere? It's not just, we really discussed that much.
No, we didn't. We'll
It's
talk
the
about
idea of
that.
it being up off the ground so much more, where it's more visible instead of looking like we have someone buried there.
Yeah,
I think we want something at least, 4 feet tall at a minimum. I
Yeah.
don't think we want anything really flat.
I
I
think
don't remember
it's.
what the size of this one is.
I think it's still.
I'm sure they have recommendations.
I know.
I will find out for sure, but it's pretty large. I don't know if I have the
there's-
actual picture in here.
Well, and we could always,
I have it on my, I'll send it to you so you can see the image of it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that when we're out there, because that'll be good to look at it then, to see what visually around it, what we would block, or, yeah.
And since the beautification committee's in here, maybe we should have them also look with us, and if we want to have any greenery or anything put around it.
So, and just
Patty?
for your information, we're buying this from the funeral home. So they are pretty good at putting these. So working with them is, they'll have a lot of the specs and how to lay them in the ground also. Yeah. And I'll send you the picture. I have the actual picture of it. So.
Flex ties. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Northside Park. I think we have a lot to cover there today. We went out, well, the three of us met there to look at the tree layout, to replace the trees on the, as I say it, on the right, or the north side, or the west side, east side, I'll get, yeah, east side of the dog fence. And by the way, the park, that fencing looks great.
It does.
And there were people there using it while we were there. And I actually saw 2 people pick up dog bags, for picking up stuff. So I think that's going to make a big difference to that park.
We've got some emails kicking around too. We're gonna try to increase some drainage in there prior to the upcoming year to some paving in that area.
Okay.
But I think if we need to get some infrastructure underneath there fixed for the upcoming year. We're already kicking some emails around with a storm drain line that'll go to the corner or near the corner of the north side is to pull all that water back over the flood.
Right.
The water on the road going
That's
in.
pulling up at the neighbor right there.
Yeah.
Kind of a low spot. Pavement was never really good in the first place.
Yeah. We noticed several low spots through that
A
area.
lot of them in
The
town
road.
that are unincorporated or partially paved at one point, and rock on the other.
So while we're talking about Northside Park, I emailed you, Blair, I believe. You saw Tyson's picture in the paper with his dog? Okay, that's at Northside Park. Well, anyway, Scott and Miriam from the newspaper, we got our puppy from them. And they said, can we meet at the dog park? Well, they thought it was Sunnyside. I said, no, Northside. But anyway, he didn't even know about the park. So I don't know, communication with the newspaper is vital, because not every, I know. you're
It was
gonna
actually
talk-
in the newspaper.
yeah,
Well, it
so,
was now,
Yeah.
yeah,
because he
Oh.
asked permission to take the picture, but let me just finish. So I don't know, I said, talk to Blair, talk to the city, And I
I
don't know
talked
who
to
your
him.
communication person is now, but a lot of people read the newspaper and they don't have social media. That's it.
So we did run some social media stuff, and I did talk to Scott, and it was fairly soon. It must have been like right after you
It
talked
was.
to him, and it was not that long after the park had opened. But we were planning on a soft opening of just having it available and not closing it off to anyone, and then a grand opening will be in the spring. And so I explained that to him. That's partly why we didn't do a big public notice or a big deal about it, because we are planning on that grand
We
opening.
didn't even know
later.
about it.
Okay.
period.
Well, let me
Well-
add to that also. So the plan is our Arbor Day celebration.
Right.
We are going to include highlight all of the amenities of Northside Park. So that's technically going to be the grand opening is the Arbor Day celebration. So, and we will have, social media, we will have stuff in the newspaper, we will have all that. I will be working with Adam, and I've already given him a heads up that that's something that we're gonna have to work on sooner rather than later. So that will be our grand opening, will be the Arbor Day. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, but since you brought it up, that's,
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay.
Northside Park.
That's okay. No, we're gonna push all of the amenities, the racquetball court, the dog park, all of it.
It
So,
wasn't a negative, I just, because I don't know who the social media person is anymore since the G doesn't.
That's
work
Adam
here.
now.
Oh,
So
Cool.
yeah.
I just.
yeah.
Whoever
And Adam
worked out
and I
good.
have talked about how we're gonna push the, advertising for it, and because that's gonna be our big push is for that Arbor Day to get people out for the celebration and also for the park itself.
Yeah.
So,
It was great, he just said, can I use Tyson's picture? I said, sure.
Yeah, I talked to him about it, and I told him that essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to see the reaction.
For everybody to use that, so I did.
Sure.
So we were looking, and it looks like April 15th
Tax day.
is going to be a partly cloudy day.
Oh, no.
Nice day for that.
I don't know where you get your weather at, but
Are you sure?
that's
It's that round ball.
Remember
The-
last year?
yeah,
Yeah.
Man.
yeah.
Probably
you-
have a better chance of it being like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you every time we plan a birthday party, and you can just tell me what day will be good.
That actually lines up with dates that we could actually be there also. So maybe we could look at April 15th unless there's something else going on that I'm not aware of.
Taxes,
Yeah.
That's the 18th this year.
is it?
Yeah.
I put on, well, since it's down the ways, I put the 22nd or the 15th. So
Yeah.
that's the date. I went by what we did last year,
Right.
which was like the 23rd. So
Yeah.
it's up to you guys when you want to do it, just so
Yeah.
I can have that. But those are the two dates I wrote down to talk about today. So
Yeah.
I don't know of anything else going on with the city at that time.
so the 15th.
Yeah, we'd like to target the 15th.
It was a good day last
Yeah.
It was nice.
We live in Oregon. You never know.
Okay. So one other item was a side note that I don't remember if Dominic and I met at Northside or we just talked about it, but the trees that are on the street right in front of the dog park are probably going to end up coming out.
What?
Because of the parking and the root system that's in them. I don't know that we can get around that without damaging the roots badly. So that was something we talked about, so I wanted to bring it up here, that, something like, I don't know how we do that. Oh, because we talked about the layout of the new trees down that side.
We want to incorporate ones, there's 4 or 5 feet between where a sidewalk would be.
Yeah,
So you're talking the 3 red maple and there's 1 ash, the really big ones.
And then the one closest to 12th Avenue, we might not have to take out.
Well, there's 4.
Is there any way to get around those?
Not through French Park.
Can we
As
read?
is right now, there's about 4 spots, no handicap. The plan, original plan had parking between the trees, and there's no way to do that.
Are we able to do it on the 11th Street side?
Parking. Yeah, you can do anything.
because there's no trees on the 11th Street side.
Maybe a good idea. It's on through, maybe we can come up with content.
I'd like to take a second look at the design and see if there's any change we can make in design to save trees, because those are great trees. I'd like to,
Well, there's no driveway design.
right, yeah.
The design we have is
Well, and I think we were looking at parking on the street simply because it would be cheaper to put in parking right on the street rather than a driveway into a parking lot. But I don't think we were thinking about whether we would lose trees or not.
they're nosing, right?
Mm-hmm. My map is not working.
What's it gonna take to fix that road? That's different.
Redwood?
Got to put storm line in first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That storm line in. That water under there, well, you can't do any paving while there's a lake there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's difficult for that low-lying area, so people can not only support what's in the corner of the park, but also getting along right.
How far away from the base of the tree would we have to get to be safe? I guess how close to the tree can we dig up for those trees?
Those roots are pretty much on the ground as it is right now. So there's just no way. And you're not gonna create an ADA, parking spot.
What about over by the bathroom? That motorhome used to be. That area.
We could probably do like 2.
I think we should take another look at the design.
And maybe that's, we should look at parking and the available space, and if we want to use any space inside the park for parking. But anyway, we should probably start thinking that through, especially once we get, we start looking at some water improvements there.
One other item on Northside Park, and I think it's any of our parks, we're trying to recognize where Northside is, but you come down Main Street, and I know that's an ODOT corridor there, but there's no sign that says Northside Park, Sankey Park. I mean, if you're a visitor coming through our town,
Oh, yeah.
unless you are on Googling parks, you don't know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's always, is that something we have to go like through ODOT to get approval of a sign that says Northside Park? Or?
One of the things that we went through with the streetscape plan was kind of identifying, making a plan for signage and how signage would look and where it would go. And that's really the first step, is to have some publicly adopted plan. And then you take that to ODOT and they're like, yeah, as long as you follow our rules, you're good. So there's lots of cities on state highways that have their special wayfinding signs specifically for their downtown or their parks, and I'm sure we could get some stuff
I
going.
think that'd be a nice ad to have something like that in our corridor. And
Yeah.
even once you turn off the main and go down,
Mhm.
like, okay, which street do I turn left or right? And I think there's one little sign, I believe down. Is that
There
red?
is, on 12.
Yeah, Poplar is the first one I think you come to. But opportunity maybe. to put
I
something.
think there's opportunities as we make improvements to our parks to do that for all of our parks better, especially as we want to attract people to come to our community. So definitely a bigger discussion, I think.
Well, right, and before we leave the parking lot discussion, the question in my mind is, with the stormwater improvements that we need there, are those going to disrupt those trees anyway? Are they going to be in the way of any stormwater improvement?
Depends where the curb line is.
Okay.
If the curb line remains the way, no.
Okay.
But if we're going to move parking in those and we have to move a curb line to accommodate that, obviously those trees are right on the front of that curb line. That's the consideration, that if we do any improvements there, that those will have to come down to accommodate that.
Okay.
So,
somebody asked us kind of where the trailer was, where the caretaker was, the bathroom. Because I'd feel better about losing, there's a ratty birch, there's some smaller dogwood that are, taking those smaller trees out, lining something up with the restroom. So where the trailer park.
Is it wide enough for cars to pull in and pull back out without going into the playground?
I was about to say, we'd have to go where it kind of turns in over by the racquetball. You'd have to then make a straight line and cut that out, and then that would become
I see
parking.
what you're doing.
But
rather than
if
it
that was the
being-
case, then I would probably say return that little square footage or something by the restroom, return that back to the park
Mhm.
for whatever.
Yeah.
You know, a gazebo, picnic bench, or another playground, or whatever.
I think we'll take another look at the
Yeah.
parking design and see what we can come up with.
Okay. So,
If we get to that point, I mean, I think that's okay. We can incorporate replacement trees in there. But for the purposes of getting us to the actual Arbor Day event this year and the trees for kind of now that are ready to go, that we kind of need to get going on, we can do the others in stages. Because that'd be a lot of work to take those out, grind out the stumps.
You can spell them out.
You think so, huh?
so would you like to cover the tree layout?
And logistics?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So we went out there to kind of take a look at the removal of the crabapple that y'all did, and just give us an idea of how much space, how much length is there, and where actually we need some type of tree placement to appease the neighbors on the fence line, but also that eventually throws some shade to the dog park, because that's going to be on the east aspect, running to the southeast. And I know I've been talking about Leyland cypress, and I'm just, the more and more I see them, I see how they're planted in different areas. I think it's a fast-growing tree. It's pretty tolerant of soil, water conditions. If we order them and get them in the ground now, we can make use of the rain, then, maybe we watch them during the summer, but, not a serious watering program for where they are. Now, when we looked at it, we started at the fence, and every section of the dog park fences was 10 feet. And I wanted at least 12 to 14 feet between the trees themselves, because we want them to kind of get their full potential. So when we did it from the dog park all the way to the end of the property line, we came up with 14. I'm going to back up on that amount to about 8. Reason being, when we got towards the back, there's nothing there really. And there's wood fence, there's different kinds of fences, but for kind of more of the maybe property screening and shade, then we kind of work on the front half. The trees that we can order, they're about $30. You're going to get a 5 or 6 foot tree. And they're 5-gallon pots, so they're easy to manhandle to get out there. They'll be easy planting. So that does 2 things. Kind of respect for the neighbors, saying we're going to put something back, we put something back. They're evergreen. I just think they'll be a nice addition there. If we packed in 14 like I originally thought, then we've got kind of a really massive line. If we go back to 8, I think we've got something. Maybe. Yeah, plus price wise. And then we took a look at the park itself. And so if you're in there and you're thinking about you're out there with your dogs in the middle of the summer, it'd be nice eventually to have a shade tree in the park, or 2. My suggestion is we start with 1 and kind of see how we like it, see how it grows. And I know I sent you some pictures and ideas. Suggestions were to have yellow color in the fall, which is good, because when I look at the deciduous trees in that park, you've got red maples, you've got sugar maples, you've got 3 sweet gums. Those are all red colors. There's one ash, which I can't remember. It's more of a yellow orange. So I'm thinking elm. So, and don't worry, they're now Dutch elm disease resistant cultivars. We're also on the West Coast. And the one that I picked was the Princeton. So Princeton gets to a height of 65 feet with a 50-foot spread. It's an upright vase shape. And so, you know, we'll be able to get it up there so we can mow under it or things like that. Yeah, elms are pretty hardy. So, and we can do a 25-gallon container. So none of the burlap ball, big trees that we bought for Evergreen. It's still going to be a pretty big tree. It's going to be 10 to 12 feet, I think, at time of purchase, but a 25-gallon pot. We can get enough people to get it over there and dig a hole. and be
So
fine.
Lena, just one comment. I did have one of the landowners contact me. Any trees that are going closer to the wood fence, they would prefer them not to be too tall because she doesn't want to lose her sunlight in her backyard.
Yep.
So she is concerned about the height of the trees. So just passing that information on to you. So
About 40 foot for cypress when it's there. So they're not.
that's the only comment I received was just she's happy with everything we're doing. She's just concerned that the trees we put back in won't be too tall.
And I think what we took out, the stuff we took out, a lot of that was at fence height, which was probably 20, 25 feet, I'm thinking. We're also, when we actually plant them, I want to measure a good distance so they're not into the dog park fence or into the neighbor's fence. And we've got enough, we did some taping there. We got enough room. They're gonna go right down the middle of that space. We want good spacing so you can mow around them, which we can do. The maintenance that they'll need, we get them in the ground, they're gonna be bushy all the way to the ground. Give them a year, we'll start pruning them and lifting the stems up. So, you know, it could be a 3 or 4 year process to get them up so you can actually mow under them. So that's the only trade-off. They do look nice when you prune them up. You can leave them bushy, but then you get into maintenance and blackberries and stuff growing into them. And they're not super expensive. They're about $30 for a 5 or 6 foot tree and a 5-gallon pot.
You have some thoughts on those trees over there? No?
He likes to cut all trees down
I know.
I know.
equally.
We do have another one to take out in the back. But you'll,
Yeah,
yeah, the one's obvious. It's about that big around. It has 4 leaves at the top, 1 stem, and it's at a 45-degree
Yeah.
angle.
yeah.
You got those other two.
There's actually
Scrubby
probably
oaks.
2.
Yeah.
Well, so when you look at the north side of Northside Park, at the back of the dog park fence, and so I remember planting these, but I can't remember how long it's been. We have, starting on the east side, Japanese cherry, and it's really starting to rot at the base, and it can move in its hole. I mean, it's okay. But I'm kind of like, take it out. It's got so much stuff happening at the bottom of it. The second tree is another Japanese cherry. It's okay. I mean, literally, it is okay. And then we planted 2 silk trees or mimosa trees. The first one's all right. The fourth one in line there is the one that's just one tall stem that leans out. And there's just, I look at it, there's nothing to prune to get it to branch out like a mimosa. It's just a whip.
Just stick.
So it can come out, and then there's another Japanese cherry. So we did an attempt at flowering trees at the back of that park. I don't think we watered them very much, and those are just ornamental trees, and that's a pretty dry, harsh site. So that's why I think they're just kind of hanging out there. I still have 2 golden rain trees in really big buckets that did really well this summer. So free to the city, we can pop out the cherry and the 1 silk tree. We can put those in. You'd have kind of, you know, different color style trees on either end. We can try them. If they don't perform, that's fine. They're free.
And then those other 2 oak over by the
Yep.
picnic tables that are up under the canopy of those fir trees that are just.
Yeah.
Talked about.
Yeah, we can go out there and kind of put a tag or something on them.
Take those 2 out.
We've already got it.
Yeah, they're just there. We looked at them the one time we had the meeting out there, just kind of looking at what, you know, stuff that's kind of under that canopy that's just not going to perform real well. The spruce, I remember, was coming out, but there's a sugar maple and there's 3 sweet gums and a Norway maple. Those are actually doing good and they're kind of on the edge. And the laurels down by the river, which are invasive, yeah. And so I think, you know, we're going to put plenty of trees back in there.
Okay,
So Princeton elm, upright shape, brilliant yellow. So it's going to add a touch of yellow to what has traditionally been a lot of orange-red fall color out there.
I think the big question was 1 or 2. Because I thought, Lena thought 1 to see what it looked like. I thought 2. Dominic was thinking 2 when we talked about it. I don't know, it makes a big difference if it's 1 or 2, but
How, can you, what's our water situation in the dog park? Because if we spend the money on the elms, 1 or 2, those I would want to water during the summer, especially if we're not going to officially plant until April 15th, you know, for kind of the big day. Unless it's a rainy summer, then I wouldn't be worried.
so water would be there.
So are you gonna, it'd be in the dog park. So that was my question. Is there gonna be a faucet or something to fill up dog water bowls that you could just hook a hose to and run it? I mean, if you want to do something like that, then I'd say let's go ahead and go for 2 trees if we know we can water them during their first few years. They'd be go inside. But if you have a standpipe or something that you just hook a hose to, then you can go run the hose for a deep watering once a week and you'd be fine.
How are you gonna keep the dogs from chewing the little trees?
Well, they're going to be 10 foot tall and an inch in diameter.
Our dog, we have to have, not rails, but wiring around a couple of our trees in the backyard.
We can
Do
pick
that.
up some tree tubes, tree protectors.
What if they start urinating on it?
Extra
Shouldn't matter if you're
extra
watering.
nitrogen.
So doesn't matter now, but we just thought if you split it up into thirds, you go a third of the way down, center, third of the way down, center, and then as they grow up, because all the other I went and looked at a lot of dog parks, and all of them have trees in them, and they have a picnic table under the tree, which that's going to attract people to sit there, you know, on their phone with a drink, letting their dog run around. It's a place for the person to go,
Their phone.
and the shade tree was always there, so. And all the roots were exposed. All of them. So just what I saw.
Bob says we need a charger.
Probably have
We're
to
gonna
put a
put
charger
it,
there for their
people
cell
with us
phone.
sitting
Yeah.
on their phone.
No.
You can
Okay.
you can disconnect a little bit.
So a lot of this stuff we'll have to cover as we get farther on, and we're on a hard time today for 10 o'clock because there's another great big meeting going to go in here, and the room has to get completely
Ooh.
rearranged.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, again, I kind of want to get with the tree order here real soon so we can at least get the cypress and get them in the ground. The elm trees, we can just stage their public work. They're going to be in pots. So, and if you think we can come up with an easy watering solution for summertime for the trees, then okay too, and I'll revise the price list.
Okay.
They're about 160 a piece for a 25-gallon pot. So we're getting a sturdy tree, not as big as the Evergreen Park trees, but something that's going to be, I think, decent to get us started there.
By the way, Evergreen still looks awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that in the
Happy to
spring.
go up there and look at that. No? I drive up there about at least once a month and drive by that just to go, oh, it looks good. Nobody destroyed anything.
So one other quick thing for Arbor Day. One other thing for Arbor Day giveaways. So I ordered some dogwood trees, some mock orange, and some perennial native wildflowers for giveaways. So smaller things for people. And I will pick them up on February 4th. And if you all don't mind, I need to come out. They're going to be bare root. Use your dart pickle forks to pot them up.
What size? Because I have all
So
those.
for pots, they're all bare root. So probably some nice 6-inch pots for the dog, or bigger for the dogwoods.
I don't have a ton of those, but I have some.
But if
so
you have like the little 4-inch things for columbine,
okay,
that would be great. I can glean some from home. The beautification committee, we talked about this too. We actually talked about beautification committee being at the Arbor Day event. So now y'all have a date, April 15th, with a booth, talking about the beautification committee. And if you all have plants, if anybody has plants in their flower beds and gardens that you want to divide, let's do some giveaways with them. I'm going to go through my yard because I've got some things I can glean and divide up. And then what the idea behind it is, we have a few trees for folks that can handle trees, but most of the people that come to these events live in the city and they don't have room for big ponderosa pines and Tipos fir. So let's give them something smaller for their landscaping. And it's still celebrating, you know, the outdoors and nature and Earth Day and Arbor Day in a way. So that was that's an inexpensive getaway. And then the other thing would be the Arbor Day stickers, pencils, pens, and I kind of gave you that list.
I could pot up a dozen blackberries.
Oh yeah, you know. And so when you think about it, we'll have our table, we'll have our, you know, park information, our Arbor Day information, beautification committee can come talk about it, recruit for volunteers. We can also, we talked about this, we could maybe ask Connie Debuscher to come do a dog demo using the new dog park. And she's got dogs that do all kinds of tricks and agility and everything. So we could, you know, kind of make it an event. The other thing we want to do, because we're showcasing that park, let's open up the racquetball court. Let's give tours, tennis court, racquetball court. So we can make it a pretty big event.
Can I just throw something in here? I'm looking in my iDay planner, I don't use my phone, but also on the 15th is the Jamboree's doing the Music and Brew, which is a huge event. So, I mean, it probably won't affect us. People can go to both. But
Oh, is that the weekend they're doing that?
because I'm doing I'm not, my daughter-in-law and our family can do, because I'm going to be a vendor there.
Is
But
it
I can do
evening?
you guys.
no, it's all day.
That's an all-day thing.
It's an all
Well,
day
it's
thing.
Friday,
Friday
yeah,
and
Friday and Saturday.
So it might be
Yeah.
better to do it the 22nd then.
But then you're
Realized I
gonna
pulled out my day planner. Maybe the 22nd would be better.
you're gonna lose a couple of us.
What,
Yeah.
22nd?
Yeah.
Oh,
But what time is the fair then?
Music and brews?
I don't even.
I have the
it's-
application on
it's
my desk.
all day. I did it last year, but I can't remember. It
I
was
think
an
it-
all-day event.
I don't. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna be here with you guys, of course.
Mhm.
Huh?
See,
Well, we can ask Robert.
I don't know that
I
it
have
really
the
makes that much
app.
difference. I think we could,
We've got some information on it here.
Yeah, we can do both.
I'm sure we could cross communicate even with them, have
Yeah.
them post that we're doing this,
Right.
and
Mhm.
at that event, we could post the other one that's going on.
and we're only talking maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So an hour to officially open the park, plant a tree or two, give tours. I mean,
Yeah.
that's about all we spent last year, so.
Okay, cool. And we can say, go to the Music and Brew now.
Yeah.
Go have a beer.
Yep.
No. Donate.
I think it'll be great. I think, last year's was well attended. It was in a neighborhood. This
Yeah.
is, can be another premier park like Sankey. I think we could get a lot of attendance. And we did have one positive comment about the dog park because Wally asked the guy what he thought of it. And he preferred it over Sunnyside because the ground's harder and it's not muddy. And he's right. It's really not soggy in the dog park area
Yeah.
in the winter. So that's good.
Okay.
Good.
February, March, April. Yeah, so next month we'll probably have to spend some time lining out who's doing what, where, and everything for that event.
And on the application, it doesn't tell me what time they're starting on Saturday. It says they start at 5 p.m. on Friday and it goes through, so it doesn't say the exact time she's
Okay.
starting on Saturday, but usually it's around 11 noon-ish, I'm assuming, so.
You already got the application?
Oh, she's saying on the application.
Oh, because she hadn't sent it to me yet.
No, this is an application from them to us.
Oh, because I'm a vendor there.
Yeah, that doesn't come to me.
Yeah, I know, but.
Okay, let's move on to the master parks plan.
So you all just wanted information this is just an informational, you wanted to know what we sent out. So I just included that in your packet.
Yeah.
For your information of what was sent out to hire the consultant.
Yep.
So,
Great, thank you.
Haven't gotten the responses yet, but they've got time.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
That'll be awesome. Okay, budget. We actually
So-
did get unlimited funds this year.
Yeah, I think they said infinity dollars
Yeah.
is what you get, right? No. Just to open it up, we've had some budget issues for this fiscal year, and Kelsey and our interim finance director have been working on a supplemental budget that will be going to the council on Tuesday.
Okay.
And so that's to fix some problems that are in place in our current budget. That supplemental budget, though, things are not looking terrible. That supplemental budget will still have a total for the year for park improvements of $120,000.
Okay.
That is subtracting the cost of the fence that was put in, which I don't know if that's been paid yet or billed or where it got billed to. I was having trouble finding where it actually hit the account, but that should go out of that pot of money. And so there is funding available for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Okay.
What I don't have is an idea of what next fiscal year looks like, because they've been scrambling to get this supplemental done, and that has delayed the start of the normal budget process. So at this point, I would recommend, assuming you're not going to have any more than we have for this year, and I would think 120 would be at the most.
Right.
Hopefully I'm wrong and we have tons of money somehow and infinity dollars are in our lap, but that's not likely to be the case. That being said, I think that there's certainly some improvements we can make next year, and it's just a matter of what your priorities are. The other item is that we do have, while I'm talking, I'll bring this up, we do have SDC funds for our park system. And that funding, as you know, comes from new development, and we've had some fairly large new developments happen recently, and so that fund is looking healthy. I mean, we just barely started collecting parks SDCs, and so it's nice to see that we actually have some already. And I will pull up that document and let you know what we have so far. Park system. Ooh, look at that first try. So we're sitting. Our balance of that is around looks like around 100,000 that we have in that fund. We're estimating that we're collecting around $20,000 a year in Parks SDC funds. But again, that's development dependent. And so we are already seeing a slowdown in housing construction in Sweet Home, inevitably because of interest rates. And so that's not a reliable, consistent source of funding. But when times are good, it'll be good.
Yep.
And when times are lean, it'll slow down.
Okay, thank you, Bart.
Mhm.
So on to Arbor Day month booster grant and Arbor Day celebration, which we covered a bunch already.
But I do have good news.
Good.
I went back and looked through my emails because I didn't think we were eligible for the booster grant this year.
Yeah.
But the emails that I went back and read through last year said we weren't eligible last year because of something that had to do with COVID. So, and it said that we could apply for it this year. So Lena's going to get me the cost of the trees. The retractable sign that you guys want is about $190. I went and got that, so we just need to get that designed, and then we'll kind of see. The grant is for $750, and it can include, media type accessories also, besides just trees.
Right.
And so we'll get together. It's due next week, and so we'll get together, get that put together, and then I'll get that submitted. So hopefully we'll be able to get that grant and pay for some of your requests for banners and signs and things also.
Be great.
Now that I've got that cost, I'll recalculate it and I'll get it to you today.
Okay.
First thing tomorrow morning.
Okay.
The other thing that I snuck in there, speaking with the beautification committee, and Nancy and I have looked at two of the rectangle medians, not the round end caps, one's without a light post in, kind of at the Rio Theater, and then one to the west of it, as kind of a demonstration if we wanted to put small conifers. And so what I could put in the booster grant is kind of do an estimate of, 4, 5, 6 small conifers. They're trees, they're truly trees, so they would qualify, and throw that in there. Yes,
Dominic?
sir.
We can't put trees up in the, we get located through ODOT.
They're not trees like you think of trees.
Turn on your mic.
Anything
Turn on your mic, Dominic. Turn on your mic. Yes, please. Thank you.
Anything other than what we're doing right now would take a permit through ODOT. Any kind of decorations, anything standing up. But I think if we,
But the flowers stand up 2 to 3 feet. I'm talking a tree that stands up 2 to 3 feet.
I'm not ODOT.
I know.
I just talked to the permit
Mhm.
person and just passing it along.
I would say put together your preference, and I will take it to ODOT and argue with them.
Oh, I
And try.
go to, that's not a problem. I mean, because we had this big discussion of even perennial flowers can get 2 to 3 feet tall. They can, even our petunias get high up the curve. But when we're talking about putting something in there that's evergreen, whether it's a conifer tree or a shrub, we're not talking that high,
Do-
and we're not talking that wide.
Do we ask them for approval for any of the plants that we put in annually now?
We're probably getting away with a lot of things with ODOT in the right of way.
Okay.
I mean, the trees originally, when they were placed, I'm guessing that was all.
Probably just done by the city back in the day. And
You don't think with-
things have changed, rules and laws have changed, especially when it comes to traffic impediment. And
Do you have,
Well, I know oh, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on whether we were complying with anything or having communication with ODOT. And recently we have not, but we have always tried to comply with the not over 2 feet. And that's what we choose to use as no opinion. That's all. And I don't know how long ago that was, but we do comply.
Do they have the height rule along the entire median? Or, because it seems to me that in mid-block, there's not really
So I was told that
traffic
they
issue.
generally don't allow any trees
Right.
in their right of way anymore. You can always do a permit and go over to Corvallis and they'll go through whatever. But it's also one of those things, if you bring up that attention, they're gonna start looking at it also, so.
I think I'll do some investigate, ask some general, non-specific questions about what their height requirements are, what is defined as a tree, and
That would help us in our decision making. I know the reasoning behind it going after these evergreens, that was the new city manager had asked for that. So it's probably educating all of us as to what we can and cannot do. But that's what kind of drove the process of getting something that showed some color during the winter months. That's where that came from.
well, and I think through the streetscape process, we also identified the median as a place for some public art, and anything that we try to put in is going to be taller than 2 feet, and so we need to see what their process is for that as well, and see what we can find out.
That'd be good info.
Amazing. That's something we talked about also when we were talking about the trees. Was, well, what if it was metal, not a tree, but sculpture or something?
Probably even worse.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
get
bet.
it
At least it doesn't drop seeds.
Yeah.
And Sisters, where they got that big roundabout thing and all the hill and the metal gear and everything.
Yeah.
That's ODOT property, isn't it? Highway 20, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they probably have a deal with the city for maintenance of that.
And I'm sure it was
Just talking
reviewed
about-
and permitted and
Yeah,
all that.
but they have an art in the public right of way process, and frankly, landscaping can be artistic and art, and so we'll see what we can figure out.
Well, we'll keep working on it, and you all were gonna kind of go take a look at nurseries to get some ideas, and I've got some research on things that are like micro trees. How's that? I think when we say tree, everybody just goes, "Oh, Douglas fir, it's huge." And
Call them
there's-
shrubs.
Called mini trees.
Yeah, and even a shrub or a perennial evergreen, kiwis and heathers and lavenders, they can hit the 2 or 3 foot mark, but they're not a tree.
Right.
Okay, so I think we've already covered the communication media needs.
Actually, I need to whip back around to Arbor Day. So we have the date, April 15th. So by the February meeting, because March might be too late, we need to kind of identify the activities and what time that we want to start things so that I can start working with Adam and we can start getting the media portions of it, getting, the Facebook, getting the New Era, getting flyer, whatever we're going to do. We need, if we decide by the February meeting, then we can start working on it and have something to show you by the March meeting, if that is okay with all of you. We just need to identify if you want to have a dog demonstration, get that confirmed. The park itself, opening up the, racquetball court, that stuff that we do. But any other activities that you want to do, if we can get that confirmed, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then to jump down to the media, it's the same thing. We'll get the retractable banner. We'll see what we can afford with this grant. And then we'll kind of go from there and see what else. But I did price out the retractable banner it's like the one we have sitting out there that says the City of Sweet Home. So that, and I'll go with that one first. And then we'll see what funding we have and to be able to go a little bit farther than that. So, but we'll start at least there and get that done.
So speaking of funding, since we're getting close to the end and it lines up with this, I was taking a walk because I need to lose weight down at the old quarry area, and I
You
ran.
can go for walks even without me.
Oh, okay.
It's a great use of your
Don't
time.
tell my wife that. Anyways, I was walking down there and I walked across a whole bunch of what looked to me like firewood that's stacked up next to a brush pile. And I was looking at it and I wonder if this is all the trees we took out of Sankey. So I sent Dominic a question and I said, hey, are these trees, Sankey? He kind of for me, there's some right of way trees are just, so I just asked the question, is that something that we, maybe as a park committee, maybe with some help from Public Works, is that something that could be cut up and sold as firewood? auctioned off as firewood for, that would be an easy, it looked like, 3-4 hours of cutting and stacking and it would be done.
Yeah, we'd have to. get
What was that?
down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I have a chainsaw and I can cut. I don't know if that's because I'm on city property.
So
So
that's kind of like the city transfer station. Right? It's not trash, it's stuff that we use. We bring our grass there, we bring our leaves.
Mhm.
We used to haul
Microphone.
this stuff when I first got here.
Microphone.
We used to be able to go up into the canyon and drop stuff off there, or go down to the county site, which was in between Lebanon and us. And there's a big expense with hauling right-of-way materials out of this town. I mean, we were constantly running in and out. Now we have a centralized location. So anything that goes to the dump, it goes to the dump. Anything that we can grind up and reuse, we bring to that property to reuse. There are certain trees that come down in windstorms in our parks, or things that get taken down in the right-of-ways. You can see most of it ends up in that pile to be shredded and kind of chipped. But we'll put some wood out there that just people can use if they go camping and stuff like that. It's probably good for you guys to figure out if you want to do anything with it. But we have no budget for it. We have no intent to, unless we're directed to do that. It's not our function. There's plenty of wood around here. Everybody's got a chainsaw. I think if we wanted to create a place that community members could come and do that, that's a whole nother discussion. I don't know how far you want to take this. I just think it's another level of stuff that we can't keep up with right now.
I don't want you to do it.
Right. No, and I guess the main question is, all we're going to do with it is chip it up and use it as mulch, right? Basically what you're saying. At this
We
point.
bring it back up on
There's no plans
Southfield
for
or
anything else.
wherever.
I think that'd be great to do it the way Wally suggested.
So sure, I don't see, like, getting rid of the wood itself, I don't see how that's going to be a problem for the city. The main question in my mind is, how do we structure the volunteers and frankly, the liability of an event where chainsaws are being used.
Yeah.
But I think that we can get around that. I don't think that that's a reason not to, but I think it's just a question of how we do it.
Yeah.
So it's basically just clearing it with our risk management and.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be simple if you cut it into rounds and piled it up and then you auctioned it for so much for a truckload of wood. I think it would go pretty quick because I see people looking for it all the time. I actually have
firewood?
people that come to my house now and cut down dead trees and haul it off and stack all the brush for me just because I just want to get rid of them.
Mhm.
And I don't have anywhere to burn them. So
Would people buy rounds versus buying split firewood? And could we get more if we brought a splitter out and split it?
Can you talk
Split.
to it?
Split is always gonna pay more,
Be more-
but it's a lot easier to do the round.
yeah, I know Dave will come out and cut. I've got a couple saws.
There's probably somebody in the community that's got a log splitter that would come and volunteer.
I got a log
do that.
splitter. I could bring a splitter. I could bring my husband and he could cut.
People,
Yeah.
kids in high school.
So this brings up a secondary topic, which I was going to discuss in our roundtable. You were all on the Park and Tree Committee. However, these type of, just events period, we need you to fill out a volunteer form for the liability purposes of working with the city and doing things. So I meant to bring those with me this time, but I will send them out to you. I will get them to you to fill out because it has more to do with the events that we do outside this building. And so I will need all of you to fill those in. And
Well, it shouldn't be new.
Yeah, I know
It's,
it. I've
it's something
been
that we
doing it
should
for
be doing
16
for a while. But
yeah, this is something that we should have been doing the whole time.
Just like we do for Harvest Festival.
Correct.
Because
basically
essentially,
one
and the
form.
reason is because when you're volunteering for the city, you're also under our workers' comp
Yes.
policies, and so we need the documentation for that.
So I will get those to you to fill out. So this was a good topic to bring up because that reminded me
Yeah.
that I needed to do that. So
That's why I brought it up.
So are we on roundtable now?
yes, and the other thing, I have one more thing for roundtable. We need to do elections. It's January, and so we need to do the chairman and we need to do the vice chair. So every year we have to do the
I
elections.
Nominate Wally again,
And
So
I nominate Bob.
so
the two of them together. There you have it.
So we need a chair and a vice chair. You
There's
guys
one
need to-
nomination,
And
but
we
you need a
need
second.
motions.
I second the Wally for chair.
And I second Bob for vice chair. We're really on, doing this the right way, aren't we?
Do you want to motion or?
You guys okay with that?
Yeah, can we get a motion to approve those votes?
I move that we approve the nominations.
I second it.
All opposed, say aye. Aye.
Opposed? You mean in favor?
reversing it this time.
I almost said it.
All in favor?
I,
Thought I'd catch you guys.
These are paid positions anyway.
That's
so-
right.
They didn't know.
Thank you. That was just something that we needed to do.
Yep.
Unorthodox,
Still
but-
on round table then?
Hold on, I have one more to follow on to that, because it's something that we need to put on our old business, because we've talked about it, but we haven't done anything yet. And that's the ivy on the trees. Some of the stuff that Deb has removed is starting to grow back onto the trees again. I have done my best to get a hold of the forestry teacher at the high school, and it's been total failure. I have 3 teachers I'm trying to actually communicate with, and they're masters at not responding. So I have another method now to get a hold of him.
Ivy
Mr. Manley?
located where?
Huh?
Ivy located where?
It's at the end of Sankey.
We talked about last meeting.
Yeah,
I just want to verify for the meetings exactly
Oh,
what you're
sure.
talking about.
there you go. Yeah, we talked about it at the last meeting on how we needed to cut it down around the base, cut it back so many feet, rip it out, and then use a herbicide to kill it off out there. I know we can't use the herbicide. Well, I don't think we can use the herbicide in the middle of winter and get anywhere with it. Does that sound right? And I don't use Roundup or anything in the winter. I wait until summer.
You just need some dry days.
Yeah. But it's something we need to talk about and make a plan. I was working, my thought process was the kids always come to Sankey every year and spend an hour, doing cleanup. If we could get the forestry group over there, if we got in there ahead of time and cut it, and then use their massive youth strength to rip it out, throw it in the back of the truck to haul off down to the area down there, that might be a good use of that to help get rid of a bunch of it quicker. So I'm working on getting a hold of Mr. Manley to find out if we can do that. That sound like a good idea to you guys? Yeah. Yeah. So,
Their work day is usually in May. I think
Is it in
if I
May? That's
remember,
when
it
it
was
is?
the beginning of May. So if I remember
We
right.
were all out there when they did it last
I
year.
couldn't remember when it
Yeah.
was. So I've got a little time to get a hold of him, but I don't want him to get tied into something else before then. Okay.
Send an email.
Yeah, none of them respond to emails anymore.
They're busy.
You got to physically stand in
They're
front of
teaching-
them to
they're
get there.
Teaching kids.
So my son's gonna manipulate Mr. Manley to my truck.
Is that roaming?
Ridiculous. Okay, sorry.
All right. Okay, so roundtable. I just want, since we do tons of stuff, this is the greatest group. Anyway, but since we're getting all these parks and everything, and I know there's a budget freeze on a lot of stuff for beautification, da-da-da. and, you
Until
know-
the 24th.
Huh?
Until January 24th. After that, there's no freeze.
Cool. All right.
Assuming the budget is passed. The
Right.
supplemental, that is.
That's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday's meeting.
But anyway, I think since we're doing a lot of parks and doing a lot of things and community is going to be there, I'd like to see us do for events in these parks, even little ones. Like we could have a picnic in the park, imagine that. But then we could have our raffle tickets for selling our cut up wood, just simple things. It doesn't have to be a harvest festival, but just a simple, invite the community, bring the picnic and, da-da-da, maybe have somebody playing the guitar, I don't know, just stuff. Because I think we need to have more activities in our community besides what,
It might be good to approach Legia with in her current role. No.
Oh, the
you mean
chamber?
At chamber?
Yeah, the chamber, and yeah, not because of here, there, and maybe to get a business involved to do that. Because I think the city's busy with everything that's going on, but if we could coordinate those events in our parks, it just may be that the businesses haven't thought of doing that.
Right.
Like I know Steelhead in the past has done fitness in the park, certain days.
Yeah, like yoga on the bridge and
Yeah.
there's stuff like that.
well, I mean, if we're already gonna be there for some of these things, we should just step it up a little bit.
Yeah,
So I can tell you right now what's scheduled. We've got Arbor Day
Right?
in April. We're looking at doing the donor recognition and Bridge Day in July. We also have 3 movies in the park, June, July, and August. So those are 3, that's 5 opportunities right now that, past July, we don't have anything. Well, I lied. We have Harvest Festival. So,
is there a
those.
run coming up? Are you guys doing that again this year? No?
No, there was another partner that we had that backed out and we can't take that on all
Yeah.
ourselves, so.
Okay.
So
Well,
that,
besides those things, I'm thinking simple, why can't we just say, it's gonna be a picnic in the park and, stuff like that?
it's mainly just a manpower issue. And so,
We're a pretty active group.
yeah, and if there's something that you guys want to organize, I don't think that we have a problem with that. But we have a special events permit that we encourage organizations to use. And I think there's a lot of folks that don't really realize what that process is. So we always like to promote that anybody who wants to put on an event can do so. And there's a process for doing that. And we want to encourage more private event, or I guess I should say privately sponsored public events would be great. But if the Park and Tree Committee would like to take on the organizing an event, I'm sure that's doable.
And all you need to do is come see me. I have the applications for, even internally, we have to do the special event permits, just because it needs to go through all the directors to make sure it goes through the fire department, police, to make sure everybody's aware of traffic purposes. So
Usually for a small event, it's not a
Yeah.
big deal, but for something that involves a lot more people, it's best to
Yeah.
go through that process.
So the other question I have, since we're supposed to figure out everything we want for the February thing, so that we need to have another small meeting then to do that. April.
No,
Well,
we
you
need to
said
have
it
the
for
information
February.
by February to talk about what we want.
if we don't have everything confirmed, I just need to have an idea.
Yeah.
So Adam and I can start working on it. And then if you get some confirmations between then and March, then Adam, by the March meeting, we'd like to have the flyer and everything done. So we can put that out and get that in the newspaper, because we'll have from the March meeting until April in order to get, because we're not going to put ads out that early.
Yeah.
But it's just, I want you all to have it in your head to possibly make the February meeting a date to let me know the activities. So
Sure.
No, but what I mean is that, so for us to get together and talk about the things, then they always tell us that we can't be.
Can't have 4 of us together talking about it.
So how do we do that?
right now you can't have more than 3 because there's only 5 of you.
Because I think all of us need to be involved with making those decisions, so what do? Schedule another meeting?
You can, if you don't want to have a formal meeting like this, you just have to let me know and I can put it on the calendar that just says possible quorum. If you want to go meet in the park or something, but you don't need all of us and you don't need that, you just want to have a discussion, just let me know of when you're going to do it, the location you're going to do it, and then I just put it on the calendar as a possible quorum. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be a formal meeting.
Good.
That works.
So if you guys decide that, and then just let me know, and then I can
Okay.
put it on there. So it doesn't have to be a formal meeting like this.
Yeah.
It just has to be,
Yeah,
I
'cause
just
all
have
we're
to
doing is
acknowledge.
talking about possible things that we could have happen.
Yeah, and as long as, I mean, you can't make any decisions when it's not in a public forum, but you can have discussions all you want.
Okay, sounds good. A curiosity, at one point in time, you had linked up with a group that wanted to put in Frisbee golf and were really motivated about it. Did they go away?
No,
Or-
I know how to get a hold of them. We just were working on other things. COVID happened.
Yeah,
Other priorities came about. So, no, I know who to contact.
is that something I could do? Because I was thinking about, when she brought that up, I was thinking, I've been to other parks where they do Frisbee golf events.
That'd be cool.
So I thought, well, we can't do it. I don't have the Frisbee golf thing there yet.
I will get in contact and make sure it's okay to give out their information.
Okay.
Because it's just a personal contact. So
Yeah,
I will make sure that that's okay, and then I'll pass it on. Either that, or I'll give them your contact information
yeah,
and have
you
them
can do that.
contact you.
I don't mind running that to ground if they wanted to do something. Is that, you guys are good with the Frisbee golf in the park? I mean, because I don't know the maintenance side of the Frisbee golf park, so.
So
It's a steel pole with metal chains and it gets beat up by plastic.
So the gentleman that I spoke to about it said that he actually even knows how to get grants, and he knows how to set it up, and he knows, so he would be the one to talk to. I mean, he knows all of the ins and outs.
Sure.
He designed the one at Waterloo,
Okay,
and I know he's done a couple others, but that's the one that he told me specifically that's close to here that he's
Yeah.
done. So yeah, he knows all of the ins and outs of it.
Fish hatchery in Lacombe.
okay. That was just something I wanted to cover.
And then just one last thing, it's not on the agenda, I don't want us to lose sight of that, but we put a lot of effort towards that community center back into Sankey Park. Took a building down.
Yeah.
Wally made a presentation and the council said move forward, so I think we need to make sure we don't lose sight of that.
Right.
That's a pretty important landmark to go back in there, I think.
Actually, Blair and I did a presentation.
Yes,
All for the pavilion?
yes.
You're never going to let that go, are you?
So part of that is, we've got a lot going on right this second, but
Yeah.
what we need to do is decide whether we're going to add that to the grant for Upper Sankey, because originally we were going to put it all together in one big
Yeah.
grant. So if that's the case, or how you want to go about doing that, funding wise, donor wise, that needs to get worked out of how we're going to do all of that. And then we need to start coming up with the design concept, costs. The last grant was 40% match, which, in-kind contribution from working donors. So those are the steps that we need to go through to do that. So just something to just keep on the radar. I'll put it on next month's agenda. Make sure. I don't know why it's not. I must have just forgot it. So
So is that another thing that we have to have separate meetings, or we're gonna talk about it next?
Well, we got to wait
next
for
month?
them to start the first part,
Oh,
and then we'll go. from
this is,
there.
it,
We'll
it's
bring
not
up
going to be a
each
quick,
Monday.
it's not going to be a quick process. We have
Yeah.
steps that we're going to have to
Yeah.
go through. And
okay.
unlike Lower Sankey Park, the design was already done. A lot of that work was done long before we put it. The only thing we had to push really fast was trying to get the match. And so this time we still have to work through all those steps to be able to get to that point. So
Okay, so any last items?
A question. Angela,
Yes.
do we still do the Adopt a Park program?
no, we chose not to keep doing that because no one was following through on their obligations.
Okay, so
to
take
do-
down the signs that are up still. Okay.
You can give us ours.
So, one thing I did want to just touch base on is with the park system master plan update process. I hope you'll all be involved. In fact, I'm going to insist that you be involved in that process once we get the consultant on board. But in the past, we have always discussed kind of what the Park and Tree Committee's priorities are for any given year. This plan, if it goes the way we all want it to, will have a prioritized list of park improvements, and it'll be adopted and publicly vetted, and the SDC funding will be tied to that. And so when it comes to large capital projects, that's envisioned to be the priority list. Anything that is something smaller than that would be, like when it comes to events or Arbor Day celebrations and smaller landscaping in parks and that aren't big capital projects, those will be areas that will be in the future Park and Tree Committee's priorities over that. But when it comes to the big stuff, that process is what we want to set and have all the public input on what their priorities are, and get that pretty much set, hopefully more or less in stone, so that as we move forward, there's really no question as to what capital project we do next. It's, oh, this is the next priority. This is what we're doing.
You would every year then review that, right?
So we review that every year to ensure that we have sufficient funding for the various projects, and it'll be more a question of what grants are we going to be seeking for these different projects, and how are we going to make this funding that we have go further to get to this priority that the public has set.
And that brings a question to my mind, because I don't remember the sewer system, it's probably not the right word for it, down there at the bridge area. Is anything going to be going on there on April 15th that would affect anything we do in the park? Yeah.
You mean the stormwater that needs to have the stormwater?
No, the big event that's going to take out the fish launch area.
Oh,
it's right there. I mean,
the wastewater treatment plant.
Wastewater.
The boat ramp and fishing area.
Changes that occurred in there, don't worry about the launch ramp right now.
I'm not worried about the ramp, just we're April 15th, like people are going to be down there driving pilings, and we're going to be fighting that sound or anything else. That was just something I thought of.
So we don't envision that closing this year.
That can move, we're looking at possibly breaking ground.
Okay. Yep.
Some Avenue right now, we've got a letter of interest we put out. That's our target. Acceptable apply. So there's some things on financing that is not going to happen immediately. Talk about that.
We're good. We're good on April 15th then.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I was worried about. Something was going to happen, and there was some giant machine operation going on. And I can't even hear myself talking.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Chairman.
There's no insulation to the break room, so
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait.
I'm concerned about waiting till May to deal with the ivy, because you had brought up that when it's wet is the best time to get it out of there.
Yeah.
We could spray it in May, but I think we need to get a work party on and get started on it. I mean, I can do one a week, but that's about it.
Right.
That one I sent you pictures of
is
on the downhill slope going down into where the creek is.
Right.
So, Patty, would that be something the beautification committee could help us with?
And how are you
I'm assuming you guys are swamped. Oh. Okay.
North side or St.
Okay. Oh.
$20 at least.
Okay.
But if we can maybe make a date, then we could, Patty could tell her group and all go together.
Okay. We don't need to, I don't
need to do it right now.
Why don't, I don't know if we need to decide the date right now, but we need to figure it out. So, and we'll actually do that when we sit and talk about the thing, and then we won't actually vote on it until the next meeting. But we might let Angela know when we're thinking we're going to do it.
Okay.
Without deciding we're going to do it.
That's clear.
Okay. Any others? Last minute? Nope. Meeting adjourned.
Good job.
2 minutes to spare.